So hello everyone, welcome to Tastes of Kyushu Volume 1 Cooking Demo with George Mendes. My name is Alexander Holden and I will be your host for today's event. This event has been organized by RESOBOX, and RESOBOX is the hub for Japanese culture where they provide a platform for you to experience and gather knowledge about Japanese culture. In this event, we will be joined by Chef George Mendes, where he will be demonstrating uses of 3 fresh and interesting Japanese ingredients. All of the 3 ingredients used in this event today are made by manufacturers located in Kyushu, an island located in the south of Japan. And this is all made possible by the Kyushu Japan Trade Promotion Council, who also is the sponsor of this special event. Before we jump in, I know I mentioned this before the event started, but I would like to go over some household markers right now. First, please keep your mics on mute. We would love to hear the chef as clearly as possible without any distraction or noise. Of course, you can unmute yourself when you are asking questions during the Q&A session when we will have at the end of this event. Second, this event will be recorded, so please keep that in mind if you wish to have your camera on. Third, please, if possible, set your Zoom screen to speaker view. This way you will be able to see what the chef is doing during his demo. And you should be able to do that if you can find a view button on the top right of your Zoom screen. Click on that and you should be able to change it to speaker view. And last but not least, let's have fun. This is a very special event, and this is a rare event in which you can have personal interactions with a very skilled chef. So let's make the most of that event. And last but not least, I would like to, I'm sure a lot of you know who Chef Mendes is, but for those who are not familiar, I would like to give a little bit of information about Mr. Mendes. Chef Mendes is a first-generation American-born to Portuguese parents. He is famous for bringing elevated Portuguese-inspired cooking to New York City when he opened his restaurant Aldea in 2009. He's also an author of a fantastic book, and also quite a personality, as you can see. His restaurant has received a Michelin star in 2010, and he has held that star since. He has been named Best New Chef by Food and Wine magazine and has appeared on NBC's Today Show, CBS's The Morning, and Bravo's Top Chef Masters, to name a few. And he's also currently working on a new restaurant project to open in the spring. That's a secret. It's an exclusive secret that you are now in the know because you attended this event. But he is a fantastic chef. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Chef George Mendes.
Alex, thank you. Welcome everybody from your home kitchens, living rooms, wherever you may be. This is really exciting. Having an opportunity to showcase 3 very high quality Japanese ingredients is just fantastic. And I think what sticks out to me the most about this opportunity is the versatility and the impact of flavor that all these ingredients will contribute to anything that you use them in. The word umami for me just makes me hungry. Umami is known to be one of the senses of our tongues. It's wholesome, it's soulful, it gives so much excitement to your palate. And all of these ingredients that we're working with today contribute. So to start, well, just in a brief introduction, we're going to be working with a smoked sesame seed. We're also going to be working with a dressing made of yuku fruit. Not yuzu, but yuku fruit. Very, very unique. Talk more in depth about that. And thirdly, we're going to be working with this fantastic miso that is amazing. That this house started in 1870. So when you get your hands on this stuff, you're going to be working with something that has so much history, so much flavor, so much depth. Really fantastic. So everybody thinks of sesame seeds as something very plain, right? We get it on a bagel, we get it sprinkled on a salad, we get it on a burger bun, right? But what this product is and what they've done here, the company Manten from goma, sesame or Japanese. It's smoked, so it imparts a whole another level of flavor. Think of working with an ingredient that is smoked without having to grill anything, without having to roast anything, imparting that depth of flavor with this ingredient is just amazing. So throughout the week, I was thinking to myself, what is the best way to showcase this ingredient and have it release its burst of flavor? And the first thing that came to mind was making a tahini, an ingredient that goes into a hummus. Everybody eats hummus. Most of us enjoy it as a dip, as an appetizer. And I decided that I would use these sesame seeds to make our own tahini from scratch. Using canola oil, you want to use a very neutral oil, and using one of the oldest kitchen gadgets that exist in the world of cookery, a simple mortar and pestle. This little device excretes the flavor bomb that we're going to want. I mean, one of the oldest medieval methods of technique, of flavor development, of collaborations, and creating new textures, right? Think about it as the world's first blender, if you will. Really amazing. So to get to it, I'm literally just going to take a tablespoon. But these seeds, you'll see that there's whole seeds and there's also some that are already crushed and they're ground in the mill. And the really cool thing about that is being that some are ground up and crushed and some are whole, you get a whole balance of sesame flavor in your mouth along with this one. So into the mortar and pestle. And then I'm going to use canola oil, very neutral oil. You can also use grapeseed or safflower oil, anything that's neutral that lets the flavor of the smoked sesame seeds shine on their own. Okay? So I'm literally going to use my mortar, the pestle, and begin to crush the sesame seeds. And it'll literally begin to look like a loose peanut butter, if you will. So a combination of mixing counterclockwise, clockwise, crushing the seeds, emulsifying the canola oil. I was about to say olive oil. Some of you might have heard me slip. You could use olive oil, but that might just compete with the flavor. So as you see, I'm getting this beautiful, this aroma is intoxicating. It's just so delicious. Practically almost there. Now, this step can basically be done in advance. Make this, keep it in your fridge up to a month, probably freeze it. But this is the whole step that is a lot of fun thing to do. It's really lots of fun to do. The whole process of smelling the aroma of the sesame that's coming through is just amazing.
Also, right.
Here we go.
Perfect.
Whoa. Mommy's on the call.
If you're just joining the call, please mute yourself if possible.
It's not.
I'm gonna put together a hummus now.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and add my Manten smoked sesame tahini. Be as heavy-handed as you wish. I mean, with me, it's like you can almost not put too much of this stuff in there. It's just so amazing. And then I'll go with my spices. Coriander seeds, cumin, fresh squeezed lemon juice. Salt. Fresh pepper from the mill. Of course, you can do this in a larger batch inside of your RoboFoo or even a blender. These chickpeas were pre-cooked. There's a lot of hummus recipes out there. One thing I would definitely advise is, of course, you have to soak your chickpeas overnight with a little bit of baking soda. That really softens them up. And agitate them. You want to release their skins and remove all of the skins from the chickpeas so that when you puree your chickpeas, it's nice and smooth. Discard the skins. So smoky hummus. I mean, this stuff is just incredible. I'm gonna add a little bit more lemon juice. More pepper. So I'm using a nice flat bowl here and just smoothing it around. Cool. I'll just go ahead and add a little bit more seasoning for good measure, especially olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. A little bit more spice on top as a garnish so it pops. Again, I'm just basically layering all the flavors that are already in the hummus. I'm adding it again on top. So that
close last to the military.
So that when you're served the hummus, you can actually smell the aroma of all the spices. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add more of the Manten smoked sesame seed on the top as a garnish. Now from here, I love to serve beautiful raw vegetables like little radishes, for example. That you can literally just use like a crudité and swipe right through the hummus. Or we can literally go with a loaf of bread, slice it up, toast it, or eat it as is, as a dip. And I mean, again, it's a very simple way to use the sesame seeds, release the smoked aroma. It is just unbelievable. I mean, I'm gonna have some right now, just to. Unbelievable, just beautiful. There you have it. That's the hummus with smoked sesame seeds from Manten, just absolutely delicious. Any questions, please feel free to ask.
When you have a question, just write it in the chat and we will be able to pick those questions up, and I will be asking those questions to Chef Mendes. These smoked sesame seeds, they're actually grown in Paraguay, which is very interesting.
That's right. So the Manten company has sourced the sesame seeds from Paraguay because of the climate, which gives them really high quality in combination with sesame seeds grown in Japan.
So the question is, what wood is used for smoking? I actually know the answer for this question, but would you like me to answer it, or?
Yes, please.
Sure. So Manten actually experimented with a lot of different trees, but they have mentioned that they use beech trees to as a smoking agent for these sesame seeds.
And that's a really important point, because that's what makes, there's a lot of, quite a few sesame seeds out there that are smoked, but the quality and the procedure of how they're smoking the sesame seeds is what sets it apart from everybody else. The wood, the actual machinery, the high quality sesame seeds, it's a sum of its parts, and that's what makes this ingredient such high quality, is the sum of all those parts.
One more question is that, will these recipes be made available to all participants at the end of this Zoom session?
We will arrange that. Right?
Yes, it will be arranged.
For $5,000 a head, right?
For a special fee.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions before we move on to one of my favorite ingredients of all time in the spring? Going once, twice.
Well, there's a question about purchasing. We will go over purchase information at the end of this event. We'll post a link where you will be able to purchase these items.
That's right. Okay, guys, so our next recipe, I'm going to feature the Yuko dressing. Yuko is a fruit that is grown in Nagasaki, and there's only 100 trees in this area that grows this fruit. It's a citrus, similar to yuzu, but a lot smoother. The skin is smoother, and this particular citrus is a little bit more astringent. Very aromatic. This dressing is founded by a chef. His very special recipe, really high quality. It is an umami bomb. There's roughly 10 ingredients in this dressing. I'm not even going to attempt to rattle them off. It's just the combination, how everything serves as a pillar, as a ladder to lift the flavor of the yuko fruit that's in here, is absolutely fantastic. So many things you can do with a dressing. The first thing that comes to your mind is, let's make a salad, right? Or let's make a marinade. I decided to showcase two of my favorite spring ingredients, and that's green asparagus and white asparagus. Green asparagus, readily available at your local market. Farmers markets will pop up, especially here in New York City, in Union Square. You'll get a lot of asparagus being grown in New Jersey. White asparagus, you'll find a lot of times at Whole Foods or gourmet markets, a lot of times online. The main difference is white asparagus never sees sunlight. It's always grown and harvested in the dark. There's no chlorophyll, there's no photosynthesis. It's the arrival of spring, and it's just a fantastic, sweet cousin to green asparagus. So what I've done with this recipe is I've taken the asparagus, I've peeled it and blanched it for about 10 seconds in boiling water. And then shocked it in ice to preserve its green color. And then the same thing with the white asparagus, also peeled, boiled for about 10 seconds in salted water, and then shocked in ice water. So I've got both here. I'm gonna take some really high quality butter. And we're gonna let that melt down and let it brown. Get to a brown butter, or a beurre noisette in French. Really nutty, very aromatic. The milk solids begin to break down. They begin to caramelize. You get a nice flavor foundation, right? So it's right before it begins to darken and get brown and burn, of course, right? If you don't want to use butter, you want to use olive oil, that's fine. You want to use a nut oil, that's also okay. So you can see how fast that butter has browned in the pan. I'm going to go ahead and add my asparagus, white and green asparagus, and just literally shake that around in the pan, let it get all glazed up. That'll cook literally through about 30 seconds. You can also roast it in the oven if you wish. You can boil it if you like your asparagus to get a little bit more caramelized, a little bit of char around the outside. That's fine as well. So as the butter is caramelizing, right, the asparagus is browning up. I'm gonna add some salt. Really important step that you're adding salt as the asparagus is cooking. Salt naturally, of course, adds flavor and it excretes moisture, right? You put a little salt on your tongue, what happens? Your tongue begins to salivate. Same thing is happening with the ingredient, right? So right through that cooking process, I'm seasoning it. I'm adding fresh pepper. And then comes the great part, the Yuko dressing. Beautiful, vibrant, fresh kick of citrus. I basically added a tablespoon. It reduces down. There's a nice glaze in the pan, right? When you think of a glazed donut, think of glazed asparagus. I mean, this stuff is just, it's nice and shiny. Really, really beautiful. I wish you guys can smell it. Perhaps you can smell it through your Wi-Fi. It's really, really beautiful stuff. I'm going to go ahead and plate this. I love the simplicity of this dish, and all I'm doing is showcasing spring on a plate with 3 main ingredients, right? White asparagus, green asparagus, and this absolutely delicious dressing made of the yuko fruit. That is just really, really the white asparagus comes bursting through with that help of the dressing, of the umami, of the ingredients that are in there, the yuko fruit. The citrus itself, it's like when you're cooking, you're adding a splash of lemon juice, right? Lemon juice a lot of times is like salt, right? Think of it as a seasoning, think of it as a flavor enhancer. And working with this dressing made of the yuko fruit is just a whole other level. It's really, really special. It's very unique. I mean, you're getting this dressing from Nagasaki. There's only 100 trees. Nowhere else is this grown in the world. This is a really special dish, showcasing spring. I hope you guys can make this at home. It's really, really simple. Sorry, I'm gonna bite in. So good. Oh. Beautiful texture, just stupendous. Soon I gotta wash my hands.
You are making me hungry, chef.
Oh, this stuff is amazing. I mean, you would never think of adding a vinaigrette or a dressing into a saute pan while something is cooking. But the beauty of that is while you're sauteing and roasting, right? You're adding a dressing, it's adding that punch of acidity, reducing down to a glaze, right? Coating the ingredient, this time being the asparagus, right? And just really creates a perfect marriage of flavor. I really hope you guys can make it. Questions, guys?
I have one question. Does the heat change the flavor profile of the dressing at all?
You know, ever so slightly. I think the fact that I'm reducing it down, it's only intensifying it. And that's a good point, because what I would do also is I would take the finished dish and I would go ahead and do another splash. You got to make sure that you shake it because it all settles. Just to add another dimension of freshness, go ahead and add more of the Yuko dressing to the finished dish. So now you have the raw product again, if that answers your question.
Thank you. One question is, why do you blanch the asparagus before sautéing it?
I think you don't have to, and that's a good point. We've done many ways throughout the years at Aldea and other restaurants that I've worked in, purely for color. Blanching it brings out that bright green flavor. Bright green color, and it's a quick cooking process, right? If I were to go from raw, the cooking process is a little bit longer. The white asparagus turns a little bit brown. The green asparagus loses a little bit of its vibrancy, and the flavor is fantastic. I actually prefer the flavor of sautéing raw asparagus versus blanching it first, because of course you're blanching it, you're losing a little bit of the chlorophyll into the blanching water. You're losing some of the vitamins, minerals, but I mean, it's getting really granular and tedious there, but completely up to you guys. If you want to saute from raw, turn down the heat a little bit. After you add the brown butter, turn it down, maybe put a lid on it and let the asparagus cook a little longer until it's cooked to your liking. If you want it crunchier, if you want a little bit smooth, you can even add a little bit of vegetable stock or a little bit of water to the pan to finish the cooking process. So that's completely up to you.
Any other questions? There's a question, do you peel the asparagus to ensure it's tender or for another reason?
Most of the time we're peeling asparagus because it's fibrous, a little bit stringy on the outside. That outer layer might be a little bit hard to chew and cut through with your teeth from the onset, especially the bigger the asparagus is. Also, really important is, this is a perfect example of asparagus. You've got these little, almost what you like to call asparagus thorns, and you want to peel that off with a peeler or with a small knife, right? You just scrape it all down if you don't want to use a peeler, because a lot of times these really high-tech peelers might go down too deep. So it's really important that you just go really, really lightly, not to go down too far so that you don't lose too much of the chip. And I mean, it gets caught in the peeler, but that way you expose the green color. This outer layer is a little bit stringy. It's very grassy, and that's the purpose of peeling the asparagus. And you can't see it as much. You can't see it as much on the white asparagus, but it is present. So again, also a real delicate peeling as well.
I've actually never had white asparagus. What's the difference between white and green asparagus? What are the differences?
Yeah, so white asparagus is only grown in the dark. It's only harvested in the dark. The growing process is underground, peeks through, and then it's harvested. Never sees sunlight. Oh. There's no chlorophyll. There's no photosynthesis.
Interesting. Any other questions?
How are you guys doing at home? Is anybody at home actually cooking right now? Just curious.
If you can raise your hand with the raise your hand button that should be above the chat, we should be able to see people raise their hand virtually. Or you can write it in chat saying I'm cooking, or
Gotta be cooking one of the recipes, maybe following me along perhaps.
Oh, I see one hand.
And every dish that I'm making is actually a surprise. So.
Oh.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next ingredient. Probably one of my all-time favorites. I don't have a favorite, but probably if I had to pick one, it would be working with miso. Miso is a fermented grain, almost always made with soybeans. A lot of times added barley. There's different kinds of misos, different strengths, different fermentation times. This particular miso is made in a house from 1870. I talked about it earlier today. It's made of barley, soybean, and salt. And the most mind-blowing thing is this is fermented in tanks, red brick tanks, with bacteria or koji from 1870 that keeps permeating this product. So this company is just absolutely deep-rooted in history. Upon opening the lid and investigating this, I mean, it's just absolutely hauntingly delicious. The aroma that comes through, caramel, butterscotchy. I mean, it's just the fermentation process. It's a beautiful thing. We recently began making our own misos in our soon-to-come project. I actually, during the pandemic, last April, started a batch of miso at home. It was a white miso, just soybeans, excuse me, salt, and koji. Koji is the bacteria, right? That's readily, you can buy that online. There's a lot of literature out there on making miso. Google on Amazon, miso books. There's so many things out there. There's great projects from a chef colleague, Rene Redzepi, out in Noma in Copenhagen, has a book on fermentation. There's a lot of folks up and down the East Coast also fermenting. There's just so much knowledge out there if you want to start your own process of making miso at home. But back to this product here is just this Ryu miso from a company called Tsurumiso Jouzo is just absolutely delicious. I can't compare it to anything I've ever had because it's so good. So the application that I want to do with this, my favorite thing that I'm doing with miso a lot is using it as a marinade and using it as a crust, if you may. One of my favorite ingredients working with all time is bacalhau, or salt cod, right? I grew up in a Portuguese household. My parents are immigrants. It's one of my favorite ingredients. We cook with a lot at Aldea, and we'll be using it a lot in my new project. I can never run away from this product. It's in my DNA. I think there was probably pureed salt cod in my baby bottle growing up. Who knows? So what I've done here is, let's make believe. So this is cured, but I did, using a knife, peel away the skin. I just put it on just to show the product. So the skin would be peeled off with a knife, and this is the top layer of the skin. So let's say this was cod fillet that you bought at your local Whole Foods or fish market, fish store in your neighborhood. Cod is very mild. It's very flaky. It's very bland. So this gives a beautiful platform to add a product like this miso to the fillet of fish, to give it some character, to give it some depth, to give it a cure, if you may. It's the same process. I would give it a good 24 hours. And literally what you want to do is, I've taken some of the miso, I put it into this bowl here. I'm going to add a little bit of water, just so that I have a little bit more spreadable. I'm literally just forming a paste, right, of the miso and water. Okay, so I've spread this paste all over the top surface where the skin was and along the sides. And this is something that you can do literally overnight, or if you're getting ready for work in the morning and you're planning for dinner at night, take some of the miso, spread it on top, put it back in your fridge with some plastic wrap and let it marinate. I would recommend definitely 24 hours. That gives a chance for the fermentation to work its magic, permeates through the skin, starts to actually transform this, what was once bland, flaky white fish as a cod fillet, right? And just turns it into a very meaty texture. Right next to what bacalhau or salt cod is, which is dried salted cod. The miso gives you an opportunity to do another whole different product. And it contributes umami, it contributes all these different flavor nuances of the caramel. And then you'll see when I go to cook it, what it actually does to the texture and to the finished product. So let's fast forward. I mean, as you saw, I literally just put this on there a minute ago. Let's make believe that this, you take it out of your fridge the next day, right? I'm gonna rub some of this miso off. You don't have to discard it. You can use it again in a process. You can use it in a finished dish, and I'll show you. So what you're gonna be left with is a piece of fish that is gonna have this light brownish hue from the miso sitting on top of it. Okay. The next step, I'm gonna have a nonstick pan, medium-high heat, some olive oil. Use olive oil. If I don't use olive oil for this recipe, my mother would kill me if I use canola oil and not olive oil. So, Mom, this is for you, okay? Now make sure that the pan, medium-high heat, a little smoke rising out of the pan, and I'm gonna put this fillet right into the pan. The side that has the miso on it, right into the pan, right? Right away doesn't stick, it's a non-stick pan. If you don't have a non-stick pan at home, I would recommend patting the fillet of cod with a paper towel. Don't worry, but the miso is already permeated too, so you won't be wiping much of it off. The codfish will literally act like a sponge and take on all that miso through its surface, into that, right? Any questions thus far? Alex, how are we doing, bud?
Yes, so we actually have a question. The question is, can you use other types of fish in place of cod?
Absolutely. And I was actually going to go one step further. You can also do it with chicken. Right?
Oh.
I would take the fillet of chicken, the skin off, and do the same thing. So actually, I'll show you that while this is cooking. Exactly what I'll do. Same application. Miso. Right. A little bit of water. Make a paste. And then, so that the miso adheres to the surface of the chicken breast, is I want to make sure it's dry. Here we go. Boom. Miso on top of the chicken breast. And it'd be the same thing, right? Into your fridge overnight, 24 hours at least, or in the morning, you know, while you go to work, come back and you have a nice marinated chicken breast. Bake it in the pan, right? In the oven if you want, or saute it, put a lid on the pan. Different ways of cooking the chicken breast, right? But this just goes to show how versatile the miso is, right? Everybody thinks of miso paste for miso soup. Of course, I mean, that we all know it's delicious, but this gives an opportunity to use miso as a marinade, as a crust, as a flavor enhancer. There's a whole kick of flavor, a whole other level. And this stuff is just fantastic. I mean, you're literally cooking from miso from 1870. I mean, it's mind blowing.
And on that note, this miso actually, the red brick building is actually registered as a tangible cultural property in Japan, the country's tangible cultural property. So you're literally consuming culture when you consume this miso.
So I'm about a minute away. So the beauty of this is, you know, it gets a nice golden crust. It's crispy around the outsides. You got a little bit of a char. You got a nice caramelization. You can see right on the outside there that it's still a little transparent. So it needs another, 2 minutes of cooking. I can actually, with the residual heat, that pan's hot enough that I'm actually going to take it off the heat. It's going to cook by itself off to the side, and I'm going to finish the dish. This is a really simple way of serving fish at home. Spring is arriving, the weather's warming up, everybody wants to eat a little bit lighter. Why not buy some greens, baby spinach, a mixture of whatever you may find at the farmer's market. You go to your grocery store and you go to the aisle where there's a lot of prepackaged greens. There's beet greens, arugula, baby spinach, mustard greens, kale. You can just make a mixture of everything and literally pan with fairly high sides, olive oil, and then I'm going to go ahead and saute my greens.
Another question we have is, how long is the miso aged for? Do you know how long, or?
Can you repeat the question, Alex?
How long the miso is aged for?
I believe at least 6 to 8 months. Typical misos can go 3 months at the very minimum. Some go much longer. The longer they go, the much more nuances it go, and a little bit more of almost like, because the fermentation, you almost get a little bit of an alcohol flavor because of defermentation. The miso that I made at home was ready in about 4 months, and it's just amazing.
And Thomas, yes, the recipes will be shared with you in one way or the other. We will be arranging that after the event.
So my greens are sauteing, they're broken down, really, really simple. Salt. Fresh pepper. And whenever I'm sauteing spinach or any greens, I always like to add a little splash of citrus. I wish I had a yuku fruit here. How come no one's yuku fruit in the 100 trees? Fresh lemon juice. and we go into the plate. My cod is cooked. Really simple, light. Beautiful fillet of cod. Now I just put a little bit more of the spinach dancing around. And a little more olive oil for good measure. You never have too much olive oil. And a splash of lemon juice on top of the fish. And then I go with a little microplane and I add a little bit of lemon zest, another level of citrus, lightens it all up. And there you have it. It's a miso marinated cod, baby greens, olive oil, and lemon. Have at it.
Looks fantastic.
Questions, guys? How are we doing out there?
So one question is crusting a method of marinade? Not sure what you mean by the word crust.
Oh, okay. So the crust is what basically, after the cooking process, right? I have the miso on there, and the crust is what formed after the cooking process, right? I had the miso permeates. I took some of the spatula. I took the spatula and pushed some of it off, but you'll see that once you marinate at home, that the miso will have permeated deeper into the product, whether it's chicken, whether it's cod, whether it's salmon, whether it's sea bass, whether it's tuna. And then when you cook it, you'll see that it actually forms a crust that caramelizes, that's blackened, golden brown.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Would you say that cod is the best match for that recipe with the miso crust, or is it, do you think?
Yeah, I like using cod because it's such a bland fish that needs help, that needs a good aggressive seasoning. Nothing wrong with cooking cod if you want that mild flavor. I just think that, you know, taking that kind of fish, adding the miso to it, just brings it up to a different level, a whole nother level.
Another question is miso appropriate for marinating vegetables?
Absolutely.
And what sort of vegetables do you think goes well with marinating with miso?
Oh, gosh, possibilities are endless. I would have done it with asparagus. Peel the asparagus and let it bury it in miso. There's so many ancient techniques that you can read about using koji, nukazaki. There's stuff that we're playing around with in the restaurant with my team here, you know, venturing down the road of letting vegetables ferment in products like miso. The road, the journey down that is just absolutely fantastic. But absolutely.
I see radish in the comments. Do you think it will go with radish?
Radish is a very hard vegetable, but with time, it takes time and patience, right? I think good cooking takes time and patience and organization. And I think that if you bury the radish in miso or any of these other fermenting techniques, it'll definitely marinate, pickle. Absolutely. It's all about trial and error, right? It's really like I would take a radish and let it sit for a good 2 to 3 weeks. Take one out and taste it.
And I do see
on a Sunday morning.
Right. I see daikon mentioned in the comments, and I believe that's a very staple combination in Japanese cuisine.
You know, daikon, yeah, a staple in Japanese cuisine, and also a little bit more on the blander side. Has a little pepperiness, but I think it's definitely. I mean, I would think of daikon as the salt pot of vegetables.
Oh, fantastic. I see a comment about would it go well with swordfish?
Yes. Swordfish is great. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
So guys, I have a little homework for you. Audience out there, friends, family, go ahead and make a dish at home using one of these ingredients. Go to Instagram, post it, tag me at Gio Mendes, tag RESOBOX. I'll pick a winner. I'll send you my book. Boom.
Whoa.
For it.
I would like to participate. Oh, I see. Where's the dessert?
Next time.
Yes, next time. So I guess we can open it up to not just relating to, I guess, the 3 dishes you made, but general Q&A. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
For a little bit? Do you have any general questions to Chef Mendes, something that you'd like to ask, or there's a great opportunity to, you know, ask some personal questions. Of course, he has the right to say, you know, I don't want to answer that question, but I see a lot of people saying thank you. They learned so much. I see a question about how long do we need to wait to find out about your new restaurant?
A few weeks.
Ooh.
This spring.
This spring.
Make an announcement.
The hashtags and tags will probably be posted in the chat. So if you'd like to go follow him on Instagram and find friend RESOBOX, hashtag Gio Mendes.
Or at Gio Mendes.
At Gio Mendes.
I'll send you a copy of this book. A lot of great things. A whole chapter on salt cod and great recipes. Have at it. Any of those ingredients, using the miso, using the sesame seeds, or using the Yuko dressing, go ahead and prepare something. I'll pick a winner. Give a copy of my book signed.
If you have to cook a dish for me and 10 of my guy friends, what would you prepare?
What would I recommend you prepare for 10 of your guy friends? Is that the question?
I guess that would be a good way to answer that question.
Go to your local farmer's market. Let the ingredients speak to you. Measure how much time you have. Decide on how much skill level you have. If you want to stick to vegetables, make a vegetarian meal. To me, your cooking is only going to be as good as your ingredients that you buy. We're not magicians. If you buy bad asparagus and try cooking bad asparagus, you're going to get a bad asparagus dish. So go to the farmer's market. Go to a market that you trust. See what speaks to you. There's a lot of recipes out there, a lot of simple applications. You can Google ingredients and really apply a good technique to that.
Right now, RESOBOX is posting links to websites of the companies that produce these items. There is a store page, store links down there that says Tsurumiso, Kappoutoshi, and Manten. Manten is the sesame seeds. Kappoutoshi is the Yuko dressing, and the Tsurumiso is the miso. So you can access those links and you'll be able to purchase the items used today in this demo. There's a question about, will you be doing this again? Will it be in another event in this style?
Maybe. I'll surprise you.
Do you have any plans to reopen Aldea?
Great question. That restaurant is dear to my heart. Maybe in the future, in a smaller scale. You know, I'm opening a new chapter now, but Portuguese cuisine is dear to my heart, and we'll revisit that. There'll be many glimpses of items and dishes that we did at Aldea that you'll recognize, plus a lot more. I'm super excited. This year has been tough for all of us in so many ways. Good food brings people together. Before you know it, we'll be eating together. We'll all be vaccinated, hopefully, and we'll get through this and eat good food.
Fantastic advice. Have you ever been burnt out in the kitchen before? What did you do to get back, if so?
Try to really, I think the answer is yes. I mean, this industry, it takes a toll on you. It's very rewarding. It can be backbreaking, but you'll get out of it as much as you put into it. I think one path that I took years ago was deciding to introduce more exercise into my life. I began running. Probably saved my life, to be honest with you, in so many ways. Just the adrenaline and the natural runner's high. I got enrolled in fantastic running organizations throughout New York City, whether it's New York Roadrunners, programs like November Project. Just there's so many ways out there to get involved in exercise in any industry. I think it's really important for work-life balance.
This is a hard question to answer. There's a question about best chef in NYC. Of course, you can answer yourself, but
there's so much talent in New York City. I have so many chef colleagues here that inspire me daily. My fiance and I, we go out to dinner. I constantly get blown away by new ingredients, new techniques. There's too much. I don't think there should be best chef awards. I think it would just be like, I don't know, just go out there and support your restaurants, find things that you like. Critics will be critics, but you know, just I think there's a lot of us out there. The restaurant industry really took a hit this year because of the pandemic, struggling to survive. The grants are on their way finally, and just go out there and support your restaurants, please.
Do you think coming to New York, I know that this industry is very hard anywhere you go, but do you think New York is a higher competition in regards to like skill level, or?
I mean, there's a lot of great restaurant cities across the U.S. and across the globe. I mean, we're in a very small city with millions, and gosh, I don't even know what the population right now. There's a lot of restaurants. So yes, it's very competitive, but if you find your niche, you'll have great customers. New York remains a top foodie destination. I think it always will be. We took a hit this year, but people will bounce back. I think New Yorkers are eager to get back out there and eat and drink and celebrate safely. But by all means, yes, it's competitive, but there's ways to survive.
Right. What is the easiest and most common food mistake to fix? Do you have any idea?
The easiest and most common food mistake to fix. I mean, a lot of times, fixing a broken mayonnaise or an emulsion or a dressing, very easy to fix by adding, putting a little bit of water in a bowl and then taking what's broken and using a whisk and adding the broken emulsion back into the bowl while whisking, and just reestablishing an emulsion.
That's a good technique.
With mayonnaise, it can be done with hollandaise sauce. It can be done with anything that's oil and water based that separates and marry the two together.
That's interesting. What is your favorite fruit to cook with and just to eat?
Oh my gosh. There's so many. I love Mexican food. I love Japanese food. I've always loved, I mean, when I opened Aldea in 2009, Japan was really inspiring me. Inspired many dishes like the sea urchin toast that we did for many, many years. I love pasta. I love Italian food. I love Indian flavors. I don't have a favorite. That's really tough.
Just a side note, I see that people have already accessed the links and are purchasing the items that we have been used today. And that's fantastic. Thank you. And of course, if you make something, again, tag George Mendes, tag RESOBOX, and post that beautiful dish that you made so you can get that fantastic book that's sitting right behind him. You have a favorite beverage?
A favorite beverage?
Yes.
I'm really into sparkling waters that are flavored with fruit. My go-to is bubbly right now.
Do you have a favorite flavor of a bubbly?
Right now, I am digging the strawberry flavor.
Ooh, I need to try that. would you say that Japanese ingredients mesh well with Portuguese cooking, style cooking?
Absolutely, 1,000%. I think the Japanese and Portuguese are very good friends. And going back in history, there were Portuguese missionaries that traveled to Japan. We exchanged tempura recipes with vegetables and fish. A lot of desserts. There's a great relationship there. And their ingredients go super well together. And that's why it really influenced what I've done in the past at Aldea or other restaurants that I've worked in, and it will continue to influence what I do next. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
Guys, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here tonight, showcasing these three wonderful ingredients. Just really, really amazing stuff. I can't recommend them more. Miso is here. Fantastic stuff. So keep cooking, stay safe. We'll get through this hard year. I'll see you really soon, okay? Bye.
Thank you very much, Chef Mendes, and thank you very much, everyone, for participating in today's event. Today's event was made possible by the Kyushu Japan Trade Promotion Council and RESOBOX, so thank you for those organizations. And make sure you make those dishes and post it on social media so you can get a chance to get that book behind there. Thank you very much, and have a good night. Bye-bye.